Hey soul pleasers, I just wanted to check in with you and have a chat today about anxiety and panic attacks. I've had quite a few conversations over the last few weeks with people who are experiencing anxiety, so I thought there was enough people asking for help about that to have a discussion about it. So I would love your comments below if you have experienced anxiety in the past or if you're continuing to experience anxiety. So I have experienced this in the past, so I can really relate when women are sharing these experiences with me. And it's really interesting because I really feel like it can be the beginning of a really positive change, particularly if you feel like it's escalating. So I'm sure at the time that it doesn't feel like that, and I remember that when I felt it, it didn't feel like that. It feels awful, in fact. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how it gets started and what you can do about it. So if you've read my book, Find the Real You and Love Her so that you can live the life you choose, you may remember the analogy of the frog in the pot. So the frog is in a pot of water and the water is a nice temperature when he gets in there, but he doesn't realise that it's on a stove. And so the water temperature gradually increases, and because it's so gradual, he doesn't notice it, and so he doesn't jump out of the pot, and he stays in there because it isn't noticeable enough, and he boils to death. And I really can relate to this because when I look back at when I became really burnt out, it was because I got so used to being stressed. So having pressure on me had become my norm, being pulled in lots of different directions, juggling way too many balls, and just being determined to keep on top of it all and never ask for help and never let anyone know that I was struggling. Just keep up that, facade that everything's okay. Everybody thought that I was fine. And it was really related to me and my self-worth being based on my achievement. So my self-worth meant that I needed to achieve, so therefore I could never ever let on that I wasn't achieving. Who have we got here? Hi Arthur. Oh wow, Arthur's on all the way from South Africa. Lovely to see you, Arthur. And so I just needed to keep pushing, needed to keep achieving, could never ever let on that I wasn't coping. So I'd love to know if you can relate to that. And so I just kept pushing. And the interesting thing, of course, is that there's something going on physically with your body when you do that. So originally the whole idea of stress came about because it was necessary. So the reptilian brain needed to protect ourselves. So if there was a real threat to our life, we needed to release cortisol and adrenaline so that we could run away or fight or whatever it is that we needed to do. But now, of course, our threats are quite often in our head, and the threats trigger this release of cortisol and adrenaline, and we never do anything to let it go. So it just stays in our system. And then we get this state where we're feeling that sensation of having those chemicals in our body. And rather than running it out or, doing something to get rid of it, that makes us feel an emotion that we then want to interpret. And so we feel an emotion and then we start to analyze it, and we want a reason for it. So then we start to get stuck in our heads. So we're just having that overthinking, that loop of just thinking the same thing over and over again. So if you've got a decision to make, for example, you just play out every scenario. And the other thing to remember, that the whole purpose of the flight or fight response is based on fear. So anxiety and panic attacks are basically, essentially coming from a place of fear. And we can't change our circumstances when we're stuck in fear. What we need to do is reconnect with love. So we're in a state of fear rather than love. And so we do this analysis, we feel this emotion, we feel this panicking or a tight chest or a funny feeling in the stomach, and it's all related to this production of adrenaline and cortisol. And so then we start to analyse it and interpret it and think and think and think, and we just don't give ourselves a break, and we identify with those thoughts, we believe them, we think it's real, and so our body reacts as if there is a real threat. Let me see your comment there, Arthur. Never thought of it like that. Makes so much sense. Thank you, Arthur. Yeah, and so the thing is that it becomes a habit, and so it becomes our norm to just be in this state of being worried and misinterpreting things and analysing our emotions and trying to pinpoint the cause. And the other thing that's going on is that we suppressed emotions when we were young. All of us have done that to a certain degree, some people more than others. Me particularly, because I always wanted to be such a good girl, so I swallowed what I wanted to say and I pushed down emotions that I wasn't allowed to express. And so sometimes when we overreact to something that's going on now, we freak out or we panic or we jump to the worst case scenario when something goes wrong. It's not just about what's going on now, it's also about our past reactions, and it's an opportunity for us to actually heal ourselves by breathing and becoming present and letting ourselves actually experience the emotion. But instead what we want to do is analyse it, work out what it's about, blame the situation that's going on right now, project into the future and worry that it's going to get worse, or resent something from the past. And so that keeps us stuck and we never get that opportunity to heal. So one of the ways that you can start to really reduce anxiety and panicking is that when you feel the emotion come up, is to recognise it for what it is and say to yourself, this is about my past and this threat is not real. And to breathe through it and really become present. So instead of being in the past or being in the future or analysing and trying to give the feeling meaning, just be very present. And I find the easiest way to do that is to either focus on my breath, to relax my body and to take my attention into my body so that I feel the life force in my body. And I mentioned fear, so this will take you out of fear and reconnect you with love. So when you reconnect with life force, you reconnect with love, which is your true essence. And it's this shift that will break that cycle of feeling anxious. So it's a short time for me to try to explain it all to you, but I do go through it in step-by-step detail in my webinar. So if you go to the link reconnectwithyou.com, who else have we got here? Hi Zada, great to see you. So funny now that I'm 49. In fact, I've only got 2 weeks left being 49. Have to use the glasses to read the comments. And in my webinar, so the link is reconnectwithyou.com. I go through the exact steps that you need to do, which is going to break that habit. It is a habit that you worry, it's a habit that you get anxious, and there's a system that you can use to break those habits. But the first one is a real detox and a clean out and a stock take of why you do what you do, so you get really clear on the why. The second one is to learn about the cycle of why you react the way that you do so that you can break those patterns. And then the third one is to really reconnect with love, because when you do that by discovering what you love, doing more of what you love and following what you love, then it just naturally fades away. It naturally allows you to be in a place of inner joy regardless of the circumstances around you, and a sense of peace and calm, and that's obviously the opposite of feeling anxious. So I really feel called to talk about that today because I've had so many conversations about it over the last few weeks, and I always attract the experiences that I need to share. So if this was for you, I hope that that helps, but have a look at the webinar because it goes into a lot more detail. And if you need further help from me, then just reach out. Have a wonderful day for those of you who are just waking up, and a wonderful night for those of you that it's Friday evening. I'm going out tonight, very excited. It's a school function and Damien's flying in from somewhere. He's not here, he's somewhere else in Australia. He's flying in and will meet me there. So it will be our belated Valentine's Day night out. So lots of love to you all. See you soon.